Good morning, I'm Carl. Welcome to Coffee with the Garden Club. So today I want to talk about lighting for your grow room. So when you are starting seeds, you need to have the proper lighting. What you see behind me is not the proper lighting. This is so you can look at some plants while I'm talking. It's not a really good growing setup for indoor growing of outdoor plants. Outside, your plants will get an awful lot of light compared to what you can provide inside. At best, indoors, you could probably provide about 1/3 of the light that you would get on a nice, bright, sunny day. Today, we don't have a nice, bright, sunny day. Today, we have a rather gloomy day. But so the lighting is measured with a lux meter. And I have one that I've downloaded to my phone. It's probably not very high quality. Obviously, it was free, but it helps me to kind of compare light in different places. So today I went outside and tested the light on a gray winter day, and what the lux reading gave me was somewhere in the range of about 8,000. So that's a gray day, really not a good day for growing tomatoes. And so that's one of the things that I like to start over the winter time. Generally in February, I'll get those started sometimes as early as mid-January. And that's if I'm shooting for planting out 2-foot plants by the time the season is ready for that. So what you need is something in your grow room. Mine happens to be in my basement, so I'll probably say basement. That a situation where you have enough light to get those plants started. It doesn't have to be ideal for fruiting, but it really does have to be enough to get those plants started. And I struggled with that for many years. I used to use 4-foot fluorescent tubes in fixtures that had 2 tubes per fixture. And these were 40-watt bulbs, and I would keep them right next to my seed trays, which is what you really have to do with that kind of setup. And I still had a hard time not ending up with very stringy, leggy starts by the time I was planting them out in the garden. The tomatoes would be falling over and other things would be pale, and so it wasn't ideal. Then I stumbled upon this LED panel, which the wattage for the panel, the real wattage for the panel is about, I think, 135 watts. That's how much power it takes, but it produces an enormous amount of light. So measured in with a lux meter, I took readings from this at different distances from the light. And so here's what I got. Between 6 and 12 inches, I was still getting a reading of 30,000 on the lux meter. That's not really bad, actually, for starting tomatoes. Tomatoes, I'm talking a lot about tomatoes because tomatoes are kind of demanding. They really like a lot of sunlight. So 6 to 12 inches, 30,000, plenty. Actually, probably more than you would need, honestly, because getting too close to that light, the lux goes up and just basically blows my meter away. My meter only goes up to 30,000. And so if you're closer than 6 inches, you are really, really probably giving the plants too much light. So I dropped the plants down about 2 feet below the actual meter. I'm still, sorry, 2 feet below the actual light panel. And down there, I'm still getting about 18,000 on the lux meter, which is plenty for starting tomato seedlings. And as they get taller, they will grow closer to the light. But you really don't want it much closer than that, because you can, a couple of years ago when I started this, I started them really close, and the poor little tomato seedlings started off purple. They were getting so much light that they didn't even know what to do with it. So I dropped the plants down lower, raised the light up higher, to about 2 feet, 2 to 2.5 feet actually, and it worked really well. And the lighting covers approximately, I would say, 8 square feet, even though it's a 2 foot by 1 foot light panel. It'll cover about 8 square feet when you get down to a couple of feet, 2 to 3 feet below the level of the panel. So inspired by my success with this panel, I thought maybe I would try and retrofit some of my 4-foot fixtures so that they would take LED lights. And I didn't even know this was possible until I went and searched for it. And I found that at this point, you can buy 4-foot LED light bulb replacements for your old shop light or plant starting light fixtures. So if you can find some old 4-foot fixtures, you can actually retrofit them. And the light bulbs come with the retrofit kit. So I went and did that. I retrofitted 2 of these just to test this out and see how it would do. So this is a total of 4 bulbs, because each of these fixtures takes 2 bulbs. And I retrofitted these, and just a note, if you are going to retrofit them, read the directions carefully, because you need to get rid of the ballast in this fixture. You need to rewire it very differently from the way that it was originally wired. The wires only go to one side of the supports, so it's a little bit different. Read the instructions carefully, otherwise you could cause some fires. Anyway, having done that, I took my lux meter out and took readings from below that. And I found that at 1 inch, I was getting only about 6,500 reading on the lux meter. And at 6 inches, I was getting 4,000 lux or less. So this may be sufficient for starting seeds, and it's actually a whole lot better than what I was getting with my 40-watt fluorescent bulbs. The 40-watt fluorescent bulbs were, when I read them now, and this is after a couple of years of use, I am getting, at 1 inch, I'm getting less than 1,000 on the lux meter. Now that's opposed to 6,500 at the 1 inch level below the new LED fixture, retrofitted fixture. So anyway, I'm getting about 6 times, at least 6 times the amount of daylight for the same fixture, and pretty, not very expensive. It costs $17 for 2 of these bulbs, so they're about $8.50 a piece or so. These LED 4-foot tubes. So now I'm investing again in a new panel, because I've realized that the tube retrofit, while good for starting, perhaps 8 square feet of, 4 square feet probably, when you come down to it, 4 square feet of flats, it's not going to be sufficient for me when I want to grow the tomatoes that are a whole lot taller, and the difference in height between the tomatoes and other things that I'm starting probably won't really work. So what I'm going to do is I will start everything under these 4-foot retrofitted light fixtures, and once they come out from there and get a little bit taller, I'll put them under the panels that I will have. I have one panel, I will have two panels. The panel that I'm talking about is about $100. And I bought my first one at Home Depot, and they no longer sell them, but you can buy the equivalent on Amazon. So if you go and search for high bay LED shop light and look for one that's approximately 2 foot by 1.5 feet, so about 23 and some odd inches by about 17 and some odd inches, and 155 watts, which is pretty efficient. So this is a daylight light bulb. I don't bother with plant lights, specifically grow lights. I just buy daylight bulbs, and I'm very happy with the results. The real authentic grow lights I find to be way overpriced. It costs about twice as much for the same square footage, an equivalent light. Maybe even not as much light from a grow light branded version, whereas you get the shop light, the cheap, huge, well, I say huge power shop lights. They give you, as long as it's daylight, in terms of spectrum, this one is 5,000 K, if that means anything to you. Kelvin being sort of a measure of light quality. The daylight outside is not too far off from that same 5,000 to, I don't know, maybe 8,000 or so K outdoors, whereas indoors you have generally soft white or yellower colored light bulbs, which don't work very well for growing your light. So you want the daylight bulb, and usually that's somewhere in the range of 5,000 to 6,500 K. And that's what I'm doing in my basement this year. So I've got a few pictures of the setup in process, and I've shared a couple of pictures of previous years on this video. And I can tell you from experience that it works. It works just fine. You can grow in your basement with a $100 panel. You can grow a lot of starts down there, and with a couple of them you could grow more than most backyard gardeners would probably need. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Coffee with the Garden Club. I hope you will join us again tomorrow, and I hope you will take a look at my Instagram feed, where I have lots of pictures of what I'm doing and what I've done in the past. That is at Food Forest Garden Club. You can also find me on the web, and that is foodforestgardenclub.org. And we're getting that website put together. It's coming together. I'm starting to partner with folks to do things like seed swaps and other fun activities. So we'll have some of that going up actually on the Instagram feed very shortly, and I'll try to announce it here as well. I'm really looking forward to this season, and it's fun to get things going. It's fun to get things started, and I hope you are getting ready too. I know it's only January, but no time like the present to get started. So that way you'll be prepared for this spring, and hopefully have a really bountiful garden this summer. All right. Thanks for joining me, and enjoy your coffee.